Sometimes parents misunderstand this idea of pleasure and children. They say, I just want my kids to be happy. And so they make decisions based on that belief. And often their children then find themselves just gravitating to where I want more pleasure. I want more pleasure. We have to realize that pleasure is not a goal. Pleasure is a byproduct of a mission-oriented view of life. Very important. If we pursue pleasure, we end up with addiction. And that's why we see so many young people today who are pursuing pleasure, whether it be video games or drugs or sex or any other kind of thing. They pursue pleasure, and that pleasure ends up in a bad place. We don't want to teach our children to pursue pleasure. What we want to do is we want them to have this mission-oriented view of life, and when they do, then they can experience the pleasure of maturity and the pleasures that come with all of that. This is so important. That's why we teach our children to work hard. That's why we have them do chores. That's why we encourage them to be serving at their church or in their community. Because when they do, then they experience a different kind of pleasure, the satisfaction of doing the right thing, of pleasing the Lord. Those kinds of things are very valuable. So we want to be careful about just pursuing pleasure. It's dangerous. And so the decisions we make as parents are very important with our children. It's best to have them involved in all kinds of things. And eventually, as they get to be teenagers, then they're going to get a job and they're going to be working and contributing to society. It's within all of that. They want to be able to experience pleasure and joy. Pleasure, of course, in their relationship with the Lord. But all of that's very different than having toys and having games and playing video games and so on. There's something different about the pleasure that God would have for us. So this starts with children when they're young, that we're contributing to our world. Certainly when they're pre-adolescents, we're talking to them about this idea of having a mission-oriented view of life. I have young people who say to me, I don't want to grow up. I'm having too much fun. And that desire, that statement describes many young people today who just are refusing to grow up. They're continuing to live in their parents' homes till they're in their late 20s. They're stuck because they're pursuing pleasure. So we as parents don't want to contribute to that problem. We recognize that pleasures and blessings are something that God gives us, but He doesn't give us just so that we can isolate and find ourselves just sucked into those things. We want to be attracted to a mission-oriented view of life. So we want to teach our children that. It's so valuable, and it'll help them for the rest of their lives. For more biblical parenting tips, follow me here.